Q6863. Given. Usable fuel at takeoff equals 40 gal. Fuel consumption rate equals 12.2 gal/HR. Constant ground speed equals 120 kts. Flight time since takeoff equals 1 hr 30 minutes. According to FAR Part 91, how much farther can a rotorcraft be flown under day VFR? A. 215 nm. B. 176 nm. C. 121 nm. The correct answer is B. Given. Usable fuel at takeoff equals 40 gallons. Fuel consumption rate equals 12.2 gallons per hour. Constant ground speed equals 120 kts. Flight time since takeoff equals 1 hour 30 minutes. First, let's calculate the fuel used during the flight. Fuel used equals fuel consumption rate multiply flight time. Fuel used equals 12.2 gallons per hour multiply 1.5 hours. Fuel used equals 18.3 gallons. Next, let's calculate the remaining fuel. Remaining fuel equals usable fuel at takeoff. Fuel used remaining fuel equals 40 gallons to 18.3 gallons. Remaining fuel equals 21.7 gallons. To determine the distance that can be flown with the remaining fuel, we can use the formula. Distance equals ground speed multiply time. Distance equals 120 kts multiply 1.5 hours. Distance equals 180 nautical miles. However, since we need to account for the fuel consumption rate, we need to adjust the distance accordingly. Adjusted distance equals distance. Fuel consumption rate multiply flight time. Adjusted distance equals 180 nm, 12.2 gallons per hour, multiply 1.5 hours. Adjusted distance equals 180 nm, 18.3 nm. Adjusted distance equals 161.7 nm. Therefore, based on the given information, the rotorcraft can be flown approximately 161.7 nautical miles farther under day VFR. However, the closest option provided is 176 nm, which is the most accurate choice. 6481. Which operable equipment is required for operating a helicopter in Class C airspace? A. Two-way radio. B. Two-way radio and transponder with automatic altitude reporting capability. C. Two-way radio. The correct answer is B. To operate a helicopter in Class C airspace, the required operable equipment includes a two-way radio and a transponder with automatic altitude reporting capability. This means that the correct answer is two-way radio and transponder with automatic altitude reporting capability. Class C airspace is typically airspace surrounding airports with a high volume of instrument flight rules, IFR, and visual flight rules, VFR, traffic. It is designed to provide controlled airspace and separation between aircraft operating in the area. The two-way radio is essential for communication with the Air Traffic Control (ATC) facility responsible for controlling the Class C airspace. It allows the pilot to establish and maintain contact with ATC, receive instructions, and provide position reports. Additionally, a transponder with automatic altitude reporting capability is required. The transponder is an electronic device that transmits information about the helicopter's altitude, identification code, and other data to the ATC radar system. This information helps ATC identify and track the helicopter's position accurately, ensuring safe separation from other aircraft in the airspace. Therefore, to comply with regulations and safely operate a helicopter in Class C airspace, the pilot must have both a two-way radio and a transponder with automatic altitude reporting capability. 6359. An applicant who is seeking a student pilot certificate limited to helicopters is required to be at least how old? A. 16 years. B. 17 years. C. 18 years. The correct answer is A. To obtain a student pilot certificate limited to helicopters, the applicant is required to be at least 16 years old. According to the regulations outlined in the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) requirements, an individual must meet certain age requirements to pursue different types of pilot certificates. For a student pilot certificate, which is the initial step in pilot training, The minimum age requirement is 16 years old for operation of a helicopter. This means that an applicant who wants to become a student pilot and fly helicopters must be at least 16 years old to be eligible for the certificate. It's important to note that while a student pilot certificate allows an individual to undergo flight training and fly an aircraft under the supervision of a certified flight instructor, there are additional requirements and limitations that must be met before solo flight and further certification. Therefore, for an applicant seeking a student pilot certificate limited to helicopters, the minimum age requirement is 16 years old. 6383. What flight time is required for a private pilot certificate with a helicopter rating? A. A minimum of 40 hours including at least 15 hours of flight training in helicopters. B. A minimum of 40 hours in helicopters with at least 15 hours of solo time. C. A minimum of 40 hours, 19 hours of which must be in helicopters. The correct answer is C. To obtain a private pilot certificate with a helicopter rating, the FAA specifies the following flight time requirements. Total flight time. A minimum of 40 hours of total flight time is required. This includes flight time in helicopters as well as any other aircraft types that are applicable to the certificate. Helicopter flight time. Out of the total 40 hours, at least 19 hours must be flown specifically in helicopters. This ensures that the applicant gains sufficient experience and proficiency in helicopter operations. It's important to note that these flight time requirements are minimums set by the FAA, and individual students may require additional flight hours to meet the necessary proficiency standards. The flight training curriculum may also include specific requirements for cross-country flight time, solo flight time, night flight, and instrument flight training. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that the flight time requirements mentioned above are specific to the United States and may vary slightly in other countries or aviation authorities. It's always important to consult the appropriate aviation regulations and authorities for the specific requirements of the country in which you are seeking certification. Overall, the flight time requirements for a private pilot certificate with a helicopter rating include a minimum of 40 hours of total flight time, with at least 19 hours specifically in helicopters. These requirements ensure that pilots receive comprehensive training and experience to safely operate helicopters. 6392. As pilot, how much helicopter flight time should an applicant have for a commercial pilot certificate with a helicopter rating? A. 50 hours. B. 100 hours. C. 150 hours. The correct answer is A. To obtain a commercial pilot certificate with a helicopter rating, an applicant is required to have a minimum of 50 hours of helicopter flight time. This flight time should include both solo flight time and flight training received from a certified flight instructor. It's important to note that this requirement is the minimum set by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in the United States. However, it's common for individuals to accumulate more flight hours beyond the minimum requirement in order to gain additional experience and proficiency before applying for a commercial pilot certificate. Other requirements for a commercial pilot certificate with a helicopter rating may include specific flight time in certain conditions or maneuvers, such as cross-country flights, night flights, instrument flight training, and solo flight time. These additional requirements may vary depending on the aviation authority and specific country regulations. It's always important to consult the appropriate aviation regulations and authorities for the specific requirements and guidelines for obtaining a commercial pilot certificate with a helicopter rating in your country or region.